Why are you here? Are we gonna live life in fear, or are we gonna stand up and make sure we're heard? Are we gonna hide or live life by our word? With integrity we can be all that we can see in our mind's eye until we're finally free. We can become whatever we choose once we know the choice lies within me and you. Now's the time to wake up. No time for playing small. With a painful history and an uncertain future, now is the time to evolve. Hello and welcome to the Unapologetically Human podcast with me, Dan Boyven. On today's episode, I have a conversation with a new friend, Sofia Pacitti, that is an artist and entrepreneur, and it's pretty much just a conversation of two new friends getting to know each other, and we kind of go all over the place with it a little bit, talk about how mind-blowing different languages are, the importance of communication, both verbal and nonverbal, creativity, art, and entrepreneurship, and how the creative journey has phases and trying to monetize our creative pursuits. We talk about how making a declaration and a commitment is when opportunities and weird little synchronicities and things like that start opening up for you in your life, and how this is involved in the process of creating yourself. We talk about how big work is a part of your life and how so many people have bullshit jobs. Like this guy, I think his name is David Graeber or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but that was something I was referencing that I'll link to in the show notes. And just how a lot of us die spiritually, mentally, emotionally, much sooner before we ever die physically. We talk a little bit about how everything is a chaotic gong show and mess right now, and I explained a little bit about this program that I did a couple years ago called Road to Hope, which is largely about healing childhood trauma stuff. We go into a conversation about the secret of manifestation and the scientific story of the universe, or the multiverse, which I slip and reference it as the metaverse. Thanks, Facebook. And just overall kind of wondering like what has created this reality that we're experiencing, and how are we interfacing and interacting with it. We talk about how our interests choose us, we don't really choose them, and how important it is to learn to pay attention to the things that interest us and to jump on magical opportunities that may come up in relation to them. We touch on how we can dislike certain things about people without necessarily disliking the person themselves, something that fewer and fewer people seem to be able to do these days. Near the end of the episode, we touch a little bit on something called ethical non-monogamy and polyamory, and integrating massive core identity changes in relation to my recently coming out as bisexual. We talk about having conversations with ourselves, council meetings with our higher selves, taking risks in the face of resistance, internal barriers, and defense mechanisms, and using that fear as the roadmap of where you should be kind of like aiming for. And just how we're all kind of figuring life out as we go, and, you know, trying to go with the flow. And it's really just a conversation of the beauty of blossoming new friendships. Hope you enjoy. So yeah, oh, one thing I wanted to start with is making sure that I have the proper pronunciation of your last name.
Thank you. I appreciate it. First, I'm going to ask you, how do you think it's pronounced?
I think it's Italian and it's Pacetti.
Close. Pacitti.
Pacitti.
Yeah, perfect. You said it right, man. That's it. Pacitti. Sofia Pacitti. Hey.
Sofia Pacitti. Mwah.
Hey, you got it. Molto bene.
Okay, cool. What does molto bene mean?
Molto bene means very good.
Okay, very good. Do you speak Italian?
I speak a little bit, but I speak French fluently because I'm French and Italian. So my mom put us in French school growing up. And knowing the Latin-based language helps so much with understanding Italian, especially Spanish, because they're so close together. A lot of the things, like when I was learning Italian at one point, where I did forget a lot of it, but when I was learning Italian, if there was a certain sentence I'd be reading, I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? So I think, I'm like, wait a second, think of it in French. And immediately it would just click because so many words have so many similarities and the pronunciation is so easy as well too, right? So yeah, but I love languages. It's fascinating. My mom actually knows, she knows like 4 languages. She knows French, English, Italian, Spanish, a bit of German, and a little bit of other things too, but she's fluent in English, French, Italian, and Spanish.
That is like so mind-blowing to me.
It is. It really is. And that's where I get it from too, just like quickly learning and catching on. Like I dated a Russian guy at one point in the past, and his mom really didn't like me and would say things about me when I was there, whenever I go visit. So I learned a little bit of Russian so that I knew enough where I'm like, yo, you talking shit?
Yo, bitch, you want to fucking throw down? I know what you're saying.
Я не понимаю, whoa.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, fuck you too.
Yeah, right? Oh my God. Yeah, man. But languages are really cool. Yeah, my mom's a flight attendant, so that's why she knows all of that. So
wow, it's so amazing though. Like it's actually there's a few things in life that, you know, I'm 35 now, and there's like a few things that like no matter how many times I see them, they always blow my mind with like a childlike wonder. And I think I almost feel like creatives and artists must have sort of those little types of things for themselves, because it's like one of the things with, you know, the adult, that like quote that it's like the adult who is an artist is like the child that never died or something like that. And so there's like this childlike wonder whenever I see airplanes and helicopters. I'm like, that shit is fucking crazy, man. Like, I don't care how much people normalize that flying is quote unquote normal. I'm just like always like every time I see a plane, I'm like, I like my eyes widen and I'm just kind of like, wow. Because I know it's like, that's a huge, heavy as fuck metal bird that we made that's carrying thousands of pounds of human beings in the air right now, and like one little human being that learned how to like fly this shit. And
Da Vinci.
I'm just like, whoa, man. So there's that, and then languages is what made me think of that. Is like, because I understand as a second language French more than anything, because like my last name is Boivin, Boivin, and my dad's parents never spoke English, so like because he was born in like the middle of rural Quebec, like 3 hours north of Quebec City. So like they never learned English, and I would understand them a bit, but I could never speak it. I've never been like able to fluently speak it. So whenever I see people and I hear people speaking another language, I'm just like, this is something Justine and I do when we're mind blown. We put our hand to our head like this and we go.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's sick.
We do it all the time. We're like,
go double. I love that. Oh, you guys are so cute. And yeah, languages are freaking awesome.
It just blows my mind so much that it's like people have figured out so many different ways to communicate so many different things. And
dude,
I guess,
sign language is fascinating. I actually started learning that as well. And it
really?
is like, it's absolutely amazing the way that communication between like nonverbal, any nonverbal communication and using signs with your hands and facial expressions. Because with sign language, it's not just reading hands. Like it's actually rude when you're signing with someone, you make eye contact with them. You don't look at their hands. That's considered rude. So to have proper etiquette, you have to get used to using your peripheral vision. And you rely on your expressions too. So if you're saying yes or no, or like I am not, or I am, like you got to match those expressions. You know what I mean? Like really it's like half of the conversation. It's really fascinating. That's a whole other world, man.
Yeah, it really is. And like Braille, like my roommate slash landlady, she's an old friend, old coworker of mine, and she does art. Her website, or like her artist kind of profile, is called Tactile Mind, and she does this like erotic sculpture art for blind people. It's trippy.
What?
Yeah, it's super trippy. So she does these
amazing.
she does these like sculptures of these like erotic, it might be a naked woman or a naked man or like someone tied up or something. And then there's like, so it's like a sculpture so people can touch it, blind people can touch it. And then she also knows Braille. And so she has Braille explaining like what it is as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's just so mind blowing.
Yeah.
But,
wow. That is so cool. You have to link me to her work. I would love to see and check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put it in the show notes. So funny. Okay, so let's see. Pacitti.
Pacitti, you got
Pacitti. That. Okay. So I've got artist friend Sofia Pacitti here on the podcast, and I guess this will be sort of like the starting point, we'll call it. And so thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, I'm so grateful that you were interested and that we're now here having a conversation, getting to know each other better. And yeah, we can just nerd out a little bit about art and creativity and
hell yeah.
Yeah, entrepreneurship. So why don't we just start off by tell me a little bit more about yourself, what you're up to, your sort of trajectory as an artist with because I know you as being like a amazing painter, and now you're like moving into the videography kind of scene and services and stuff. So yeah, just tell me a little bit about yourself, about your creative journey.
Yes, absolutely, Dan. It starts with something I noticed about myself from a very young age. When it comes to art and mediums, I move through them like phases, like straight up phases. And I have this addictive personality. I hyperfixate on things. When I discover something I really like, I will beat the shit out of it until I'm bored and move on to the next thing. And I do that, especially with art. So growing up, I'm grateful that I have parents that have always supported that. So they saw at a very, very early age, okay, she likes to make things, she likes to create. So they, helped me explore that. So they would get me different mediums. I would try like experimenting with painting. Watercolor was like the first thing I started off with, because that's what my mom would usually work with. So watercolor, and then I moved on to clay and then paper crafts and all these different things. And I noticed a trend very early on. And I would get hyperfixated into these specific things, and I would create all these different ideas and move on to the next thing once I'm bored of it. And that's been happening my entire life. And growing up, I actually when I hit about like my 20s, I was still going through all these phases. Like I've been through, painting, obviously, teaching art classes, like sculpting, jewelry making, dream catcher making, paper crafts, like all these different things, special effects, makeup, just a lot of different mediums.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I would get so addicted to these things. Like I would get hyper fixated, and I'm like, okay, I want to just I have all these ideas. I need to create all of them. And then I would just get bored of it. And I could start to feel myself towards the ending of that phase. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm going to be moving on to something else soon. So I got to wrap it up, get all these ideas out, and then move on to the next thing, because I'm probably not going to touch that medium for the next few years or ever again, right? So yeah, it wasn't until my 20s I was like, am I ever going to figure something out? Like, I like to think I'm really good at a lot of things, but what the fuck am I going to do with it all? How do I combine all of them? Is there a way I can combine all of them? So I knew that none of these single things were truly in alignment with me, because it never set off. It never became really successful. The traction wasn't there. I couldn't figure out a good way to make like monetary value from it. And it wasn't until a few years ago, I just had a thought, and I'm like, yo, I want to start making videos. I'm going to start making videos. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do it. I don't really have many resources, but I just know it's going to work out. And I know that's something I can do, because this can be another phase. So I'm just like, I'll figure it out. So yeah, then as soon as I made that commitment, as soon as I said that out loud to the universe, all of these things started to fall into place. These opportunities where I could be a director type of person, or filming, or whatever it may be, capturing a moment, came up miraculously. And I was like, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, this can't be like a coincidence. I don't believe in that coincidence shit. You know, there's no such thing as coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. Synchronicities are a thing, you know, there's signs. So when all these things started falling into place, I realized like, hey, this is something I really need to continue with, because I see success in this and it makes me feel really good. And when I did my first video, I actually reached out to a friend of mine. She just started doing yoga classes. She graduated her yoga teacher training and she started doing classes. And I'm like, yo, I gotta do videos. I gotta get a portfolio. So I'm just gonna reach out to her. So I'm like, yo, Isabel, I'm gonna do a free video for you. Just be my muse. And she's like, sure, no problem. Good friend from high school. She was awesome, or from even elementary school. So yes, I did her video. And I remember when I sat down and worked on that first video, I started getting emotional, because it felt so in alignment. I'm like, oh my God, for the first time ever, I feel like I could do this for life. I could see myself making this, like, moving pictures. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the beauty of the art of video is that I can put all of these mediums into one. I have taken scans of my paintings and put movement into it, and putting it as an overlay on something, using my makeup background, special effects makeup, to add this uniqueness. So the whole production thing, since I've been doing that, I specifically, because at first I was like, okay, I want to do videos. What kind of videos? I started doing trippy makeup videos. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. And then I started doing other things, you know, trying to do a video for other people that weren't super in alignment with what I was doing. But I was like, okay, I just got to get some work done. And then I realized that I don't want to do the things that anyone else can do. I want to do specific things. I need to specialize in something that's true to me, and which is that trippy, magical, celestial, galactic, hypnotic, commanding type of content. I like it. Like when I see my viewers watch a video, I want them to just like look at the screen and just be like, yo, oh my God, there's something here. There's something there. I can't miss something. You know, there's always something at every moment, every beat matching to the music, and just keep them totally enveloped into it. And even implementing sacred geometry as like subliminal messaging, in a sense of helping just, you know, with the mind, like just subtle little symbols that will seep in. Maybe they see it, maybe they don't, but it's just something to go a little further, you know? So yeah, the whole production thing, I realized as I was continuing on this little journey, that I don't want to just make any videos very specific to this uniqueness, and working with people that are passionate and putting them in the right light so they can shine, promoting them, showing the world who they truly are and what their message is, because the world deserves to hear that from the people that are passionate and they know who they are. They know what they want to do. When they're in alignment, people need to see that, not only to benefit from what they do, but to be inspired in turn and create that ripple effect constantly. So yeah, I love making videos.
That's so great. And yeah, just like so many things as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, well, even like this connection, this call feels like alignment. And obviously, like, you know, you can say for sort of anything, it's like there's this sort of like destiny involved. And you know, people have been talking about these philosophical ideas and stuff for so many, like, thousands of years, truly. And yeah, just these ideas that there's no coincidence. And yeah, so many things you're saying, I'm just like, fuck yes.
Ran through a lot there.
Like, no, I know there's so much there. And I think like I was saying, whether it's like, you know, you're doing art, or you're trying to create a business, or you're trying to, you know, create yourself, like, you know, who we are is a creative process. And you know, we get to, you know, doing the work that we all need to do in whatever ways we need to in our lives and in ourselves to, you know, heal from our various traumas and just really be true to ourselves and who we want to be, and to create ourselves to be who we want to be, and create the future to be who we want to be. It's like there's just so many overlapping just ideas and necessities in whatever that process looks like. And
lots of moving parts for sure.
Yeah. So when was the first video that you made? Like, how long have you been on this journey from like, no, like kind of like, you know, when did it sort of like start percolating that you wanted to make videos? And then when was your first video? And and then like your launch recently. Also, just as an aside, and I can pull this out, if you have to cough or anything, I too am clearing my throat. You can just mute for a second.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, just mute okay. For a second. But anyway, so what's the sort of timeline of the journey been like?
I want to say it started about 3 years ago, just about 3 years ago. Yeah. And at the time, I was in a very different part of my life. I didn't have any magic in my life. This is just before I made this statement to the universe. So I didn't have very much magic in my life because I stopped believing in a lot of things. I was almost like borderline atheist. I went from a few years back before that going super spiritual to a point where it was like a little extreme.
A little too woo-woo.
Oh, a little too fucking pretentious. And I didn't realize that until I met other people that were like me. And I'm like, oh my God, am I that fucking annoying? Like I sound, so that's what turned me off from it. And this is the hyperfixation. I get obsessed with things. You know what I mean? I get right into it, but I need to fucking check my ego because I'm like, yo, this is not cool. You know? So I went from super spiritualist, then to all the way to atheist, super atheist. I'm like, hey, you know what? This is bullshit. I don't believe in any of this. I don't believe in that. No, that doesn't make sense. And it's just, you know, fact. And obviously, you know, you are who you hang out with. So I started attracting people that were on the same vibration, right? And as I continued to have my beliefs in that sense, there was no synchronicities in my life. There was no magic. There wasn't like any interesting things. It was so boring. And I was working a decent job. I was a freight broker actually in sales. And but it was just, there was no substance.
What does that even mean? I feel like that's like something.
Freight broker.
So
you know how like there's transport trucks and they transport freight. So like think like big skids.
Yeah, like whatever their cargo is their freight, right?
Yeah. So I would be the middleman, and I'd call up companies or cold call, go to their fucking businesses, go through the back door and get them to benefit from our services. So we would have connections to a bunch of different drivers. So we would talk to the business owners. So let's say, for example, Dollarama. We would reach out to like the main Dollaramas, the really big hubs, and we say, hey, we have cheap prices for like transport, whatever. So then they would rely on us to take care of everything from point A to point B. So to book the pickup, make sure the driver's on time. If there's anything that happens, make sure there's a backup driver to come. So basically just the middleman for freight transportation. So it wasn't really super interesting. It was okay, but you know, I got a lot of experience from it, right?
Yeah.
So I was doing that at the time.
Well,
And
it's like those, when you're doing jobs like that, it's like, even if it's like you said, it was a good job, quote unquote, because it was, paying the bills comfortably enough to kind of live life how
yeah,
you want to. But when you're, the 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 work that we do is like at 1/3 of our life, pretty much, of our adult life.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
supposed to sleep for 8 hours, work for 8 hours, and then do the rest of life in 8 hours. And so that's something that I'm still on the journey. And that's why what you were saying before, there's so many things that resonate, because I'm still on that journey of like, trying to figure out how to monetize my creative pursuits and passions. and
sure,
and there is this kind of amalgamation of a bunch of different things. And that feeling of being like, even if you have like a decent job to get by
yeah,
financially in life, it's like, if it isn't feeding you energy, if it isn't feeding your creativity, if it isn't feeding your soul in some way, then it's doing the opposite. It's
it's a
taking your energy,
sacrifice.
it's sucking your soul out of you.
Yeah,
And it's like, you can only do that kind of thing for so long before it starts to make you literally like go like crazy. Like,
yeah. Or people just succumb to it. They're like, okay, this is my
or they
life
but
now.
that's why it's like, so many people, the idea that it's like, people die many, 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 many years, like sort of spiritually, mentally, emotionally, much, much longer before they die physically, right? And it's because
That is so true.
they give in, and just,
Yeah.
I actually want to get your thoughts on this, because this is something I've been thinking about a lot in recent years, and sort of wrestling with this idea that it's like, you know, someone's got to do those jobs. It's like, most of the, services that most people use, they wouldn't want to be the person on the opposite end providing those goods and services, or doing that retail job, or booking the freight that is
Yeah.
getting the products to the stores that they want to go buy shit at. But it's like, someone's got to do it.
Yeah. It's
But
a part of the journey we got to go through.
right, but then it also comes down to that, like, well, that might be a good job and a good fit for someone else who, you know that's their conception of what work is. And it just, you go to work, you do some stupid fucking job that really doesn't mean anything to you, as long as it pays the bills and you can live your life and maybe provide life for like a family and stuff like that. Then that's what work is, that's what life is. But I think for
Mhm.
creative people, it's like, it just is not, it's not an option, and not in
Yeah.
the long term, right?
Yeah. And a lot of them can't do it too, because our minds aren't built that way. Some people, they can tolerate those things, or they're really good at it. They can find joy in that. But with a creative mind, it's like you're putting it in a box, and there's just these limitations, and that will literally, like you said, will drive a person mad, completely bonkers. And that's what happened to me. That's why I've never held a solid fucking job down for more than 2 years. Wow.
I'm right there with you.
This just fell off of my wall.
Oh yeah.
Synchronistic abundance. I have
Oh
a vision
shit.
wall, and this just fell off totally randomly. So
Amazing. Well, that
yeah,
means we're gonna do some work together in the future of some sort.
yeah. This is big shit, man. Seriously, out of all the pictures, because I've got my vision wall behind my computer. So like, out of all the stuff, this is some good shit. It says
Amazing.
synchronistic abundance for those who aren't watching the video.
Oh,
Synchronistic abundance, a picture of I don't remember her name, but it is a Greek goddess. I can't remember her name for the life of me. I think it's something like, wait, I don't, I'm not even gonna butcher it. But anyways,
that's
synchronistic
okay.
abundance.
Synchronistic abundance
Yeah,
and
that's all
some
you need to
Greek
know.
goddess. That'll probably be the title of the episode now. It'll be Synchronistic Abundance with Sofia Pacitti.
I fucking love it, man. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this freight broker job, it was great. It really was, but it became stagnant. It became stagnant
Yeah.
like everything else in my life. And at the time I was dating someone, a serious relationship where we were on the same vibration at the time, but I was seeking more magic.
Yeah.
And he respectively obviously didn't believe in the same things that I wanted to believe in. And it just wasn't matching. I was starting to go in this direction and he was over here, and I would just start going over here. And,
And
God
so
bless his soul, great person, but.
What kind of things you said like that you wanted to believe in? Could you explain a bit more?
Yeah, so like synchronicities, for example, in life, and the law of attraction and how that works, and understanding, magic with understanding alignment with ourselves, and believing in something to a point where you make it a core belief, and getting on the same vibration of the same thing that you want, and then getting lined up with it and it manifesting into your life. That was a really big thing for me. Is manifestation and spirituality, because I was out of touch with spirituality for a while, and I just wanted to get back into it, and I didn't feel like I was really being taken seriously. And I get that, because he was on his own journey, and he did see my perspective, and that's okay. And I'm not going to judge him for that, because I was literally in the same shoes as him, right? So yeah, I wish him all the best, but it came to a point where it just didn't work out, so yeah. But it worked out better, because I was able to finally embrace this refined belief system that I had, and finding balance, because going from like super freaking level 4 spiritualist to like atheist to being like, okay, girl, you need freaking balance. You need balance, and you can't be so obnoxious anymore. So it was really amazing to have all that space to explore. And let me tell you this is a crazy thing. I was working the freight broker job, right?
Yeah.
And I would go out for walks in the forest frequently every day.
Nice.
And I went out for a walk one day. I was by myself. Beautiful green leaves. They're just coming out. It's like the springtime, probably like around May. And I just was so sick of everything in my life. I just stood in this big ass forest. I'm like, all right, universe, listen up. This is me jumping. All right, this is me jumping. So hit me with your best shot. I'm going to do something that I'm passionate about. This is it. I'm putting it out there. Damn, the next day I got fucking laid off.
You let me go. Hey, not how you thought it was going to show up, but you asked it. You ask it. It's like, careful what you wish for.
Yeah, ask and it shall be given, bro. So I go back to the forest the next day, and I'm like, I see you. That was crazy.
Like, wow. That's so funny. It's like, if you're looking for a sign, here's your sign. It's like, there's some, I find that like so interesting. It's like, I really do like to, I was never religious. I was never baptized. My family was never religious. I've never been to church for anything in my life other than like a couple weddings, couple funerals. Never been to a church service in my life. So I've had to sort of like really kind of find my spiritual beliefs and just beliefs about the world and the universe, and whatever people call God. It doesn't need to be some supreme individualistic being compared to more like a fundamental force of the universe that creates reality, like a gravity sort of thing, and just like really trying to understand what like my beliefs are and stuff like that too. And so funny when you have like a brain fart. I'm like, what am I even talking about? where am I going with this?
The beauty of editing, though, you can take as long as you need. That happens. No one will know.
The thing, though, is like, this is where like usually if I'll cut something out like this, I'll put it at the end, because one of the things that actually is like I love so much about doing that is, and I could just keep it in for that reason as well, is to just show people that like everything that we're doing is so fucking messy. Like it's everything that everyone's doing is such a fucking mess, like a gong show. It's chaos.
We really don't know what we're doing at the end of the day. It's
chaos. but the lens that we put it out there with, and the picture that we paint over top of the things that we're doing, and this goes for artists, healers, businesses, corporations, media, government, everything. It's like we put out a picture of what we are. It's like our Instagram profile, our internet or social media profile versus like the reality of our deeply
tagged pictures.
Yeah, like our deeply complex characteristics, right?
For
But
sure.
yeah, just like everything's a mess. But yeah, no, you were saying something about just like, you know, spirituality and manifesting and stuff like that. And I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but yeah, it's like it's such a journey to figure out all of the like deep core things that it means to be a human being, and that's one of them. Like I did this program a couple years ago all about sort of like um, processing and healing from childhood trauma. It's called Road to Hope, and one of the main concepts of it is that like as human beings we are, there's four core parts of the human being. It's like there's physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. And it's like this spiritual thing is actually, even for someone like me who is never baptized, never went to church, nothing like that, there's still the drive, the very human drive to question, like, what, who am I? What are we doing here? What are we? How did we get here? What is this? All even, and what created it all, and what, you know, and the idea of like, you know, the universe is, and this is in line with, you know, the synchronistic abundance and this idea you were saying of like wanting to, you know more about and learn more about, and the things you want to believe. And I'm on this journey myself still. I think we all are, you know. It's like we're at different points. But it's like this like synchronistic abundance in that it's like, you know, whatever created the universe, whatever God, whatever force, whatever it is, people think it's consciousness, people think it's an individual supreme being in a different dimension or reality or something. It's like whatever it is, it's like, you know, we live in this weird reality of energy and matter and stuff, and it's like, what the hell has created it, and how are we interfacing with it, how are we interacting with it? And so many people in the realm of manifestation and like The Secret and stuff like that, I've been more of the kind of like I went through a much more atheistic period of my life as well when I was younger too. Like certainly not believing in like, you know, the Christian God or the, you know, like in Allah or anything like that. Like just thinking that's just humans anthropomorphizing, you know, the supreme source of everything, which is like whatever. But it's like this idea that, you know, we are energy, you know, we even, and the thing too with modern science and all the tools that we have to prove that, like, you know, our thoughts are energy. It literally creates energy. Our thoughts create energetic and chemical like messages and signals between the parts of our body that interface with each other and like interface with this energetic reality in certain ways as well. And so when I went through this more atheistic kind of stage, it was like the idea of The Secret, and that almost like one of the main criticisms of the idea of manifestation is that like you just have to think a certain way and it will like, you know, somehow rapidly change your like reality and stuff like that. But when you really start like looking into it, you do like kind of come to understand that, well, I mean, everything's super weird. The like hard scientific like understandings and explanations of like why things are the way they are and stuff. It's like you can go as far as you want, go to the Big Bang, and then you go, okay, but what was before that? Like you could, if that's the story, the scientific story, which I love, it's a beautiful story that like we can see that that's like factual because of the tools we've developed. But you can't stop there. Like, you know, and that it's like, it just, it fucking blows my mind so much that this idea that like this infinite universe that we live in is like, it's literally infinite. There's hundreds of trillions of galaxies, each with hundreds of billions or trillions of stars in each of them, and an infinite amount of space that apparently is expanding And it all used to be in one infinitely tiny point of dense energy and matter that exploded into the Big Bang. And like scientists are like, that's what happened. We have evidence to prove it. It's like,
that's it.
Sick. What the fuck happened before that, man? And then it gets like right, and then it gets right back into this like God realm. But it's like, yeah, it's like this infinite universe that is likely, you know, there's a higher dimension that our universe is in, and there's a bunch of other universes, and it's like the metaverse, and it's just like it just goes on forever, literally forever. And we are like able to understand it all. We're able to think about these things, and we're able to interface with this reality in some way that, you know, it does lead to, when you believe, or when like you were saying, it's like when you make a declaration, it's like you go to the forest and you go, all right, like this is me jumping, you know, you're making a declaration. And that's part of why I was like, you know, perked up to ask you to come on the podcast, because you made a declaration that, hey, I'm doing this thing, and I'm like, let's talk about
it. I love that.
You know?
That's fucking awesome, dude.
And it's like, but when you do those things that are like more aligned with who you want to be, how you want to feel, the things you want to do, the things that feed your soul rather than drain your soul, that's when the synchronicities start happening. And it's like,
absolutely.
And the logical rational mind and the scientific sort of like critical thinking and wanting like a really clear, logical, rational reason for everything is the side that goes like manifestation and The Secret is fucking bullshit, and synchronicities are bullshit. There are such things as coincidences. We live in an extremely complex fucking world with millions, billions, trillions of moving parts. But then it's like, you start tapping into what feels like an alignment with like your true self in whatever way that might be, and then suddenly all these weird things start happening. And like you said, when you're not in that space, the magic sort of dies, the synchronicities aren't happening.
Well, it goes hand in hand with belief too, because it's like when I was going through that atheist type of phase, I guess to call it, I was questioning how The Secret worked, because I just was getting fed up with everything in life. And it didn't help the fact that being surrounded with people who didn't think about these things or shunned these things or made fun of it didn't help, you know? And when you don't believe in it, of course it's not gonna fucking work. It's all about belief, but it's also following the breadcrumbs too. You know what I mean? It takes work. You don't just think, oh, I want a Lamborghini. Look at my driveway. Oh, what the fuck? I don't have a Lamborghini.
Oh, yeah,
it
didn't come. Yeah. My manifestation powers aren't strong enough.
Yeah, that's bullshit, man. No, that's bullshit. Like seriously, it's all about the breadcrumbs. You put it out and the universe starts to leave hints. You pick up on those hints, but you also do the work too. So you have to be doing things that follow the actions that follow what you're putting out. You know what I mean? So like, for example, when I put that out, one of the things I said, I want more magic in my life. I'm calling in more magic. When I saw an opportunity where there's magic, I jump on that shit and bring it in. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's that thing. That's that thing. There's that hint. I gotta pick it up. There's that breadcrumb. You know?
Yeah, no, and that's such a good, almost like a motto to live life by, and just something to constantly think about is that like, it's like the idea that we don't choose what we're interested in, right?
No,
like even all of the things that you've done, that I've done, that anybody else has done, whether in art, business, whatever, it's like it in a lot of very tangible ways, like it chooses us, right?
We're born with it too.
Right, exactly. I was just gonna say, like, there's it's nature and nurture, right? Like there's something to do with our genetic makeup and our upbringing in our family, our siblings, our teachers, our culture, that do all of these like incredibly complex things going on inside of us incredibly quickly that we can't explain, right? But that move us, and that when you learn to pay attention and you actually like notice and raise your awareness, and this is part of what, like, whether you call it manifestation or just sort of like just paying attention and then acting accordingly. It's like when something catches our interest, your job is to notice that, because you don't create that. That's some weird innate part of you that who knows if we'll ever be able to totally explain it, but that it's like one of the best pieces of advice ever is that, like, when you pay attention and when you notice something that does pique your interest, that does feed you energy, it's like go there deeper. And yeah, just like what a beautiful idea too, that it's like to notice that, like, you don't feel like you have magic in your life, or call it you're not playing enough, you're not having enough fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not being optimistic enough too, even, right?
Yeah,
too closed-minded, there's no fun in that. There's no fun in that.
It's like it's hard not to become more negative and pessimistic and cynical when you're doing some random ass job that you don't really like. You're not
surrounded by the same people you are here hang out with.
And it's also like, it's like the people, this has been my experience too, like all the jobs I've had that have been a very, very wide variety have been like, the jobs have been okay, but ultimately, I haven't stayed anywhere for longer than like just under 3 years. And I've always loved the people. Like, the people are usually great, even when there's like things about a person that I don't particularly like. I don't dislike the person, I dislike that thing about them. It doesn't mean I can't have a conversation with them, I can't disagree, we can't learn and grow and whatever, but it's like they're not, it's clear when they're not your people, you're not in the space that's like your space, right? And so it's like such a, like, I wrote it down, like, this knowing that you want more magic in your life and like calling it into your life is, it's important.
It really is. The magic, like, in the way that manifested, even that specific statement that I put out, I was just getting back into my spiritual journey, like restarting it, I guess, or picking up where I left off, whatever you want to call it. Ask for magic. And after that, I was like, I really would love to learn about witchcraft and manifestation, doing rituals, but using elements and to amplify manifesting. And about a year before that, I was working at Paint Night. You ever heard of Paint Night before?
I used to be a bar manager. We used to have.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I used to be one of the instructors at Paint Night in KW, right? Okay. So I met this freaking awesome, super cool girl there. Her name was Stephanie. And when I met her, like, and this was way before all of this, this is a few years before. And I first met her, I'm like, yo, there's something about her that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I want to get to know her. We never ended up getting really to get to know each other. We worked a couple times together. I assisted her with some of her classes and vice versa. She trained me too. And
shout out to Stephanie. What's up, Stephanie?
Huge shout out to Stephanie. Stephanie K. Radley Art. Oh, love her.
Put it in the show notes.
Hell yeah. So this, funny enough, she became one of my best friends. This girl's my fucking sister, man. So this is crazy. So I was thinking, a lot was on my mind, where I was thinking like, hey, I really want to call in manifestation with using magic and witchcraft, using the elements, not long after I had these thoughts, I got an inbox from her, because we're friends on Facebook, and she's like, hey, can I paint you? Because I just did a recent photo shoot time. There's some really badass shots of me, and she saw this one picture of my hair blowing in the wind. She's like, can I paint this? I'm like, girl, yeah, please. Like, I was so flattered. Anytime someone asks to paint you, like, that's one of the nicest things, so I said, hell yeah. So she painted it.
If there's that one takeaway from this whole podcast, it is, if anyone ever asks to paint you, you always say hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. You say fuck yes. If you say fuck no, yes. That's disrespectful, bro.
To the whole universe.
Yeah.
Disrespectful to the universe.
It's you turning down life.
Well, it's like it's like one little point of universe person A is asking to like immortalize, however temporarily, another part of the universe, person B, and to say no is to disrespect the whole fucking universe.
Fucked it up, man. The whole system. You have one job. So I said yes.
Yes.
Yes, please paint me. So she painted me, and after she painted me, she's like, hey, come on over, your painting's ready. And she gave it to me. I said, dude, why are you giving it to me? She's like, well, it's you. I painted you, so you can have it. So I was like, oh my God. So we started hanging out. Aww. And I started learning about a lot of things about her. She's like, yeah, I meditate. And she told me about some of the stuff that she does in her practice, because a lot of witches, especially old school witches that have been practicing for a while, they don't really advertise that they're witches unless someone
they
is
don't
want
to. They saw what happened 400 years ago,
right? They don't want the repeat of history.
No more advertising. The witch hunts do not need advertising.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be a flaming situation. Yeah. So I noticed that, I started picking her brain on it. And usually with these old school witches, they're like, oh, okay, she's interested. Well, I'll just start, showing myself a bit more. So she, told me about what she does and how she practices. And I was like, listen, I made a request from the universe a few months ago to bring in more magic. And I'm pretty sure this is the fucking answer. So I said,
yeah.
Thank you for responding. And you know what? It was really sweet because right before we connected, she was going through a really hard time in her life. And she yelled out to the universe. She said, I need someone. I need a really close friend that will be there for me, that I can just be genuine with. Mm-hmm. And when we connected, she's like, dude, you're my answer. I'm like, yo, wait, you're my answer. And it was like, okay, cool, we're best friends. So she taught me.
Stepbrothers moment. Did we just become best friends? I think.
Yup.
Yup.
It's exactly like that. It was really beautiful, and which blossomed this beautiful friendship. And she lives in Cambridge, which is amazing because I live in Cambridge. So yeah, she's just
Seabridge. Shout out to Seabridge. I'm from Kitchener.
Seabridge. They call it Lamebridge, but it ain't that lame. It's
I know.
Quiet, it's nice.
I mean,
no one bugs me out here,
They got the fucking Grand River ripping through downtown. They're gonna be way better than Kitchener Waterloo once it's like bigger and.
Oh man, yeah, we'll have to see. Just don't go in the Grand River. You'll get herpesiphylitis.
Best advice.
Yeah, you come out with a fucking, not a third eye, but like a third arm. Not a third leg though, but a third arm.
Yeah. Third something. You'll have a third of a couple different things.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, it was truly magical when that happened. And to keep going on this magic thing.
Hell yeah.
I ended up attracting into my life, before I say this, I was obviously single for a while, practicing polyamory, non-monogamy.
Interesting. We could dip into that conversation. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm actually I might have to ask you about your experience in that if we have enough time.
Yeah, we've got some time to worries. At the time I was just more of like a free spirit, just flowing. And I came across I was on the dating website. Of course, I fucking loved that online dating shit. I'd have so much fun with it.
Nice.
And listen to this, because I've done the dating websites I've done them for a few years. I'd go back on and off, so I know the deal. And if you're a girl, your inboxes get flooded, and sometimes you'll get fucking just a boatload of penises. You know what I mean? There's just lots of dick everywhere. So you gotta be, you gotta narrow it down, because you don't want to just. So what I did, because this time around when I was on this dating website, I'm like, hey, I don't want to waste my fucking time. I want to get matched up with the right people. I'm not here just to, you know what I mean? And I don't want people knowing it's me. So what I did, I kept it super short and simple. My profile picture was just a mirror selfie, but from here down, just like probably here, clothes on obviously, but like just, you can barely see who I am, but just enough where you're like, okay, she's a brunette. And my bio literally said this, Dan. I'm not here to waste my time. If I'm interested in you, I will send you my Instagram so you can see who I am. If you don't get that, then that's it. Please don't bother me. Super simple, super cutthroat, straightforward.
Right on.
Right? So I had this for about, a couple weeks. And I come across this magician. Fucking magician.
No way. I want more magic in my life. Hello, magician.
What am I doing? I go on his profile and I'm like, okay, oh, Magic Mike. Oh, hello, Magic Mike. I go through his profile. I'm like, oh, okay, he's a magician. That's fucking awesome. And I see, oh, and he's a hypnotist. That's even better. Okay, and he's a producer, and he makes music, and he's a DJ. This is all in alignment with me. Like, this is so cool. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, Magic Mike, I'm Sofia. Here's my Instagram. Give me a gander. I am interested. So let me know if you're interested too. So
I like
there,
it.
Yeah. And then, 2 and a few months, it's 2 years, 2 years and a couple months later, still with him. So yeah, we're in a serious relationship. Fucking love him.
Nice. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. So that was another magic. I attracted, my magic best friend and magic lover, my significant other. So it was really super awesome. And, all of our talents and gifts.
And what online platform was that on?
Which one? Oh God, that's OkCupid, bro.
OkCupid, yo, shout out OkCupid, fucking bringing beautiful, magical fucking lives together. What's up,
dude? I will be the testimony. I'll be like, yo, and I don't care. I tell people, yeah, we met online. I don't give a fuck.
Yo, anyone who fucking criticizes that shit, and almost like anyone who criticizes anything.
The future.
And I actually wanted one thing that I do definitely want to talk about before we get off is just just talking about criticism and how you deal with criticism in regard to art, but in life in general. But yeah, it's like anyone who criticizes stuff is like, shit has fucking nothing to do with you. Like little to absolutely nothing. It's like everybody's just on their own fucking bullshit because of whatever they got going on. It's like that idea that, we're not bothered by like things other people say or do. It's the reflection of that thing within ourselves that we actually don't like, and that's why it bugs us, kind of thing. But no, yeah, fuck online dating, OkCupid, fucking you looking for some love, get on OkCupid. It's funny, one of my other podcasts too, we were like eating some like Lindt chocolate, and we were like, you could totally sponsor the podcast in the future. Like, OkCupid, maybe we could work something out.
Yo, seriously.
But go on.
I would go on about that all day. Tell OkCupid, yo, listen, because of you guys, I got matched with the love of my life. I know there's magic in my life.
Tell me more. Magic Mike.
Oh, Magic Mike. He's just absolutely amazing. You know what? It is truly magical. It is truly magical what we have. And I've been in a lot of long-term relationships, like serious relationships, growing a life with each person and not working out and repeating, serial dater I was at one point,
Yeah.
But this is the first time where it was different. And I was like, oh shit, is that what people talk about when they're like, when you know, you know? And it just all made sense. So, we met online, of course, and I was non-monogamous at the time. And I obviously communicate that with anybody who I'm about to, start anything with. I let them know, hey, listen, this is my situation. I'm very free spirit. If this is very much in alignment and it works out, I'm happy to be exclusive. But right now, as of now, this is like my lifestyle, and I very clear communication. That's like the number one thing you have to do when you're non-monogamous or polyamorous, right? It's how you make things work. So anyway, so we met online, chatted for a few weeks, and we, the thing about me, I'm a creep when it comes to social media. And especially if it's someone I'm going to see, like I will creep the shit out of, dude, I creep the shit out of everyone. I'll do a fucking background check on this shit. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I can know what job you worked at in fucking 2012. You know what I mean?
It's too easy. It's too easy. It's too easy to be a creep such that it's harder to not be a creep. So like, you're not alone. No. Everyone's a fucking creep. It's too easy.
If anyone says anything about that, you say, listen, you put it online for a reason. You knew that everyone could see this says post public. If you didn't like it, you don't have to post it, but it's there for a reason, and I'm gonna fucking look at it. You know what I mean? So I creeped the shit out of him for like 3 weeks. I got to know him without him even knowing me very much. So when I met him, I was motherfucking starstruck.
Aww.
He came over, and it was on Halloween. And Halloween is a significant day for me because I was conceived on Halloween.
Wow.
And because my birthday is August 1st, and my mom, she told me that I was conceived on Halloween, which is actually very special because, you know, Halloween,
Cool.
I'm a spooky bitch, you know? So, you know what I'm saying? So when he came over, it was on Halloween, and I was like, hi. You know, I don't know, obviously a little exaggerated, but I was like, damn. My first words, I was like, you're here.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm like, yeah, you're actually here. So yeah, we hit it off. It was really special. And our first date, you know, we're hanging out, we're decompressing because we both had work. He had a DJ gig actually in Cambridge. It worked out. I was working at a cab company at the time. We finished work, we're tired, we're just chilling, unwinding, having some tea. And I asked him, like, yo, man, do you want to do some mushrooms?
Yes.
I don't know who's going to hear this, but whoever's hearing this that knows Mike, listen, it was just a little amount, okay? It was a tiny little bit, but it was...
Yo, whatever. This shit's fucking getting decriminalized all over the States.
It's therapeutic, okay?
It's
so
like, it's gonna be a regulated fucking... There's literally hundreds of billions of dollars of market venture capital being invested in the psychedelic space. We're allowed to talk about it. And that's something that I'm super into. We're definitely allowed to talk about on this podcast.
Thank you for having my back on that, dude.
Hell yeah, fuck yeah. No, no judgment, and all the critics can shut the fuck up. They don't know what they're talking about. And it was funny because, like, when I was thinking earlier about like stuff that I want to like maybe just touch on and talk about, I thought about like that we could potentially like venture into the psychedelic space because of some of the you know common friends that we have, and I was like, we'll see what happens. And
you know what? For another time, I would love to talk about that because I actually used to serve bufo, which is 5-MeO-DMT. I'm a bufo shaman, so I'd love to talk about that in another episode.
Oh fuck! Yeah, no, you're definitely coming back on so we can dive deeper into that shit. Yeah, that is like, what a fucking statement to drop. Oh yeah, I'm a bufo fucking shaman. Like, excuse me?
Yeah, I got initiated to serve fucking one of the strongest psychedelics. No big deal.
Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation about that at some
Absolutely.
point.
We'll save that juicy topic.
Yeah, we'll save the juiciness. But go on, yeah. So you guys did a little bit of mushrooms.
Yeah, and it was just the night consisted of us just staring at each other's eyes, and I'm like, yo, I know you. I'm like, I know not from this life, but like, I know your soul. There's something about your soul, man. Went really well. It was beautiful. Such a beautiful first date, the best one I've ever had. And yeah, after I hung out with him, there was something inside of me that was like, yeah, this is different. I can't pass this up. And I got to make sure that he's on the same page. So after a few more hangouts, I got to make sure that we're on the same page, you know, and which obviously it worked out. I was so happy that the feelings were mutual. But one thing that was very, very profound, you know, how we have our higher selves or our higher self and our spirit guides or whatever you want to call them, the beings that surround us, that protect us, that guide us, whatever. I was reflecting on him and our relationship that was about to blossom and turn into something solid. And I felt my guides come down and say, hey, are you serious about this? I'm like, absolutely, yes. And they're like, okay, because like I'm trying to explain this in like a way that our human minds can understand, but basically my guides and his guides were like all having a council meeting. And I'm going through this in my meditation now. Fuck, I don't know, this could be all in my head, but this is what I was feeling, you know. Saying it's a fact, but this is just my experience. So we're sitting down in this council meeting. There's like, okay, Sofia, listen, if you're really serious about this, here's this contract. You have to understand that you are both very talented beings. You are on the same caliber of gifts that you have been born with. There is success in the future of both of you coming together and collaborating. You're here both to change a lot of things. You're here to inspire a lot of people through your creative outlets. But understand, in order to get there, you need to be his rock because he's going to go through some fucking shit. You need to you got to stay by his side and he needs you. But if you don't, that future is not possible. And I'm just like, yo, listen, give me the fucking pen, take my money. I don't care. I will sign it. I don't care. That's fine. You know, because I just felt that, you know, it was so deep. And that stuff ended up unfolding, which is crazy. And now we're at that point where we're collaborating and we're creating. and birthing these little artistic babies, these masterpieces together. And it's so beautiful, but it's mind blowing how those things ended up happening. He had a rough couple of years. The first time we started dating, a lot of very impactful stuff happened to him that's never happened. His whole life got shooken up, but I was there. I stood by him no matter what, because I fucking love the guy. I fucking love him so much. So yeah, it's really special.
Yeah, that's so nice to hear. And it's interesting that you brought up the topic of polyamory and non-monogamy. It's something that Justine and I have been kind of talking about throughout, but well, before our relationship started and throughout our relationship. And yeah, there's so many interesting parallels, but my situation, or our situation, is a little bit backwards. And I'll actually, I imagine Jordan, who I had on the podcast last time, is probably listening. I want to throw out.
What up, Jordan?
Well, yeah, what up, Jordan? Throw out a shout out to him, and also answer a question to talk a little bit about. At the end of our episode, I had mentioned to him that I came out as bisexual recently.
Oh, and good for you.
Thank you. And it was near the end of the podcast, and he's like, yo, you can't fucking drop that shit on me at the end of the podcast. Like, I have so many questions now. And he's like, what? And he's like, started to ask a question, and then he's like, no, I can't even ask, because then you I don't have time. Like, we got to wrap this up, whatever.
Yeah.
We don't have time to open it up. And I was like, well, ask the question, and if I probably am not going to answer it right now, I'll answer it on the next one. And he was just asking, like, so if I'm bisexual, like, how does that work for Justine and I? Because we're actually engaged. And it's interesting too that you're talking about sort of like this council meeting, and also doing like a little bit of mushrooms and stuff. And I had a similar experience actually the night before I proposed to Justine. I like to do a little bit of mushrooms, and I tend to prefer to do them by myself than with people, because I like to go very introspective and really examine myself, my own mind, the things that I'm working on, the things that I'm struggling with. And I tend to do sort of like a low dose, like less than a gram usually. And I have like a really good time. Like I'll go outside, I'll go for a bike ride, I'll sit down by like the water, and I just be with myself, like really in a way that I can't almost otherwise. It's like, that's why people become like, meditation practitioners for years, to get to these like levels of consciousness that, taking a half gram or a 0.8 gram of like mushrooms is like, it just like you're going. That's
all you need. You can milk it off of that. Yeah, for sure.
And so I had a similar experience where I was just like, I was sitting at the Fort York grounds in Toronto, not too far from my house, and just, as it got dark and the Toronto skyline lit up, and I'm just like, I'm super close to the CN Tower, and it's just like this beautiful scene, and I'm just thinking about life and myself and the things I have going on and the things I'm struggling with trying to figure out, and the things I want to create and the things that are in the way. And I just got on this like this experience where I felt similar to you, whether you call it like my guides or my higher self, or even the idea from even the idea from a more psychological kind of scientific rational mind perspective, that I like to sort of like, go back and forth between the two kind of like realms or camps of thinking, whether scientific or spiritual, that like, it could be like every aspect of myself psychologically, every part of my personality, of which I think there are many, like the idea that we're like this single neat ego and identity is like, I think it's quickly becoming like more widely known and able to be talked about, like so many things, that like we're actually so much more complex than that. But I had this experience. I had only done like a 0.6 or something like that, like not much. I'm just sitting, having a beer, being with myself. and I felt like I had kind of like a council meeting, like you were saying, like where
Yeah.
like every single part of myself, including the
Yeah.
most challenging, the most um like the parts of myself that feel like they're sort of like at the heart of the biggest challenges that I'm faced with, and almost like the most disagreeable parts of myself. It's like every part of myself was like at the, it felt like the kitchen table of my mind or my soul or something
Yes.
like that, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
like everyone was present, everyone, every single
Yep.
one. And I started thinking about just like how in love with Justine I am, and that
Wow.
like I think like I want to ask her to marry me. And I think that like she wants me to as well. And like I'm serious about it. And she's, if I do it, she's going to say yes. And I was like, so I like really like thought about this. It kind of took over like the majority of the experience from then on for the next couple hours. And I just was kind of like, okay, so everyone's here, right? And it's like all parts of myself are present, and everyone's like, yep, here, 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 fucking
That is so awesome.
super sweet parts here, fucking asshole parts that
Here.
usually, yeah, here. And it was like, okay, so like if I'm thinking about this, am I serious? And it's like, yes. Everyone, yes. So like, should I do
Wow.
this? Yes. For real. Like, am I fucking serious right now? It's like, yes. And it's like, even you, asshole, like, even you think I should? It's like, yes. and so like I was like, all right, well, I think I'm gonna do it then. And I kind of was like, am I gonna do this? Like, what the fuck? And like I woke up the next day, and of course, you know, little bit groggy, and it like first thing, it was like, it was funny too, because it's like you have these conversations with different parts of yourself, and it's like, you know, usually it might feel like you kind of have one part that's like, well, I want to do this, and the other part's like questioning, like, should you really do that? What about this? Be practical, blah blah blah, whatever. So it's like when I woke up in the morning after having that conversation the night before, being like, all parts of me are here and saying yes to this, and then the other part being like, all right, well, if you're fucking serious about this, then be serious about it.
Yeah.
And I had recently gone through a leadership program with a bunch of people in San Diego. I went to San Diego a few times before, and two of the people that I was closest with in that program, I stayed at their house a couple times. They were a couple, and shortly before this, he actually had proposed to her, and I had a conversation with him. And one of the things that he said was like, you know, why wait? Was sort of the message. And that can be attributed to so many things. It doesn't have to be in the realm of romantic relationships. It can be in creativity, business, fixing some part of yourself or transforming some part of yourself that you want to improve. It doesn't matter. It's like the question is why wait? And it's like, if you really know that you feel this way, and you feel that if that other person or these other people who are involved like feel that way too, then we usually allow all of the reasons why it's not a good time to come and scream at us and stop us from doing XYZ things in our life. But it's like, if that's the case, like often, you know, it'll never be the right time if you listen to those voices. And it's like, so I was just kind of like, why wait? And so this part of me is like, all right, well, if you're gonna fucking do this, if you're gonna sit here and think about this for a while, and be serious about it. Like, be serious. Are you actually going to do this? And I was like, I'm going to fucking do it. And I wake up the next morning, and literally very first thing I remember immediately right away. It's like, the thought is sort of like the almost like the asshole voice of the like, all right, motherfucker, you going to do this? Like, you serious? And I'm like, you know what? I am going to do this. And I straight up, and this was in May of 2020. So like a month, 2 months into the pandemic. And I'm like, is there even anywhere open that I can go, like, look for a fucking ring and shit like that?
Oh, yeah, that was the thick of it too, right?
Yeah, and it was so funny because Justine actually had recently moved to Toronto, and she was only living like a few blocks away from me. And the one place that I found that was open, it was kind of either like go across the city to some fucking place in like the Eaton Center, or there was a place like right around the corner from my house. And no joke, it's like on Queen West. The place I went to is like right here. My house is like just down here, like super close. Place I go to is called, I think it's called like Made You Look or something like that. It's like right by Queen and Brock. Yo, shout out to that place. I hope I got your name right. And
yo, shout out. Your shout outs are fucking golden, man. I love it. And, made you look.
And yeah, so it's like this jewelry spot with all these local artisans and stuff, jewelry makers, and it's right here. And literally, Justine's apartment is 2 doors down.
Oh my God.
Right here. So I was choosing the ring about 50 feet away from her, essentially.
That's insane.
From her bedroom to the like store I was in. But yeah, so anyway, long story short, I'm just sort of embellishing this story.
No, that's okay.
Bit. She's gonna be listening. Love you, Justine.
Yo, shout out to Justine.
Yo, shout out to Justine.
My girl. I love her. What? Is that your thing?
It's just like a funny sound. It's like a funny, cute sound we make when we see something cute. We're just like.
Oh my God, you guys are the best. We all of us, we got something, you know.
But yeah, so I woke up. All right, we're gonna do this, motherfucker. And I'm like, you know what? I am gonna do this. And I went and I bought a ring and I found the perfect ring. And it didn't even have a stone in it. It's this like rose gold. She's like a woodland fairy type of.
She totally is.
You know, and like a just true like nature lover, very spiritual as well.
She is.
And yeah, I was like, I don't really want to get her a ring with some big rock in it. And I don't think that's what she wants either. But, you know, we have this conventions and society and stories and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, but if I don't get one with a rock, does that mean I'm being cheap or this or that, whatever? Like the ring still wasn't fucking cheap, but it just, they didn't seem appropriate to
have
symbol,
like some, bro.
You know, and yeah, it's just like this nice, thin little rose gold band that is just like maple leaves. Like all these maple leaves that are sort of overlapping with one another. It's so beautiful.
That's so beautiful. That's very her.
It's so beautiful. And that's the thing too, is like, it was her and it was also me. It was like, it was a ring that I actually like wanted to give, you know?
Wow.
And yeah, so like I got it. I asked her, she said, yes, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, so yeah, like some similarities with sort of like the council meeting, you know?
Yeah, that's a thing, I guess.
on like some deep, like, soul level, whatever that means to you or whoever's listening to this, whatever that means, it's like when you feel something so fucking deeply, you know. But to go back to sort of answering Jordan's question, he's like, so you're engaged, recently came out as bisexual, how does that work with your fiance, is what he asked. And I was like, I'll unpack that a little bit on the next episode. And it's so interesting that you're talking about polyamory and non-monogamy and ethical non-monogamy is something that I've come across recently as Justine and I continue to talk about potentially exploring this. And part of the reason for that is because I've been interested in that type of thing for a number of reasons for a number of years, but, you know, learning about it and actually, you know, these are things that tend to be, you know, interesting and sound like they might be cool in theory, but when you start to really think and talk about the practical application of such things, it gets very confusing to say the least, right? But it's something that we're exploring.
For sure.
And part of that too is because that was something that we were talking about before we ever got into a relationship. So it's been a consistent thing. And just like you were saying too, it's like, it's about communication. It's about being straightforward. And I have been, and it was like, you know, we never choose the timing of how things unfold in our life. Quite often, the universe or the world presents us with an opportunity, and we have the choice to take that opportunity or not, essentially.
Yeah. Well, and also it comes down, sorry, just to piggyback on that.
Yeah.
Also not letting your brain suck you back into the comfort zone. Because that voice saying like, yo, but are you sure? Oh my God, but you're gonna be uncomfortable. Is it safe out there? You know,
yeah.
Pull you back
that's the like force inside us that's stopping us from everything we want in life.
Yeah. The 5-second rule. You gotta say, just do it within 5 seconds.
Is that like Mel Robbins?
Yeah.
Yo, that's my girl. Shout out Mel Robbins.
Yo, shout out to Mel Robbins. You can have this on my vision wall. It says, don't think, just do. 5-second rule, man.
So 5-second rule, for those who don't know, is that she has like some actual like psychological studies underpinning like why this works that I'm not familiar with enough to explain. But it's basically like if you want to get something done, like getting out of bed, something so simple, for instance, you're having a hard time, count down from 5 and kind of like have this rule with yourself that like when you get down to fucking 1 or 0, like you're doing the thing, and it actually helps. It helps you get out of that like thinking mind that
it totally does.
stops us, and it honestly works. Like I've definitely used it. It works.
Yeah. And it's a way of our brain. It's a defense mechanism to keep us in the comfort zone. So, you know, even if we're so sure of something, that little voice, there's always going to be something saying, yeah, but like, is it safe to do that? Are you going to be uncomfortable? Well, you might as well stay in your comfort. Stay over here. It's safe over here, you know, just like being in bed. It's like, no, it's safe to be under the covers. It's warm here. It's cold out there, you know. If you want to do something uncomfortable, what if this happens? What if they say no? What if whatever, you know, but you got to just do it.
Yeah, well, that's the
where
thing
growth
too.
happen in the growth zone. That's where
that's where magic happens, right? Like it's like you literally like you can't grow in your comfort zone. It's like it's literally not possible. Like you have to take risks, you have to face your fears, you have to, you know, take the opportunities that scare you. It's like that idea that like fear is the map, fear is the roadmap. Fear is not actually showing you the things to stay away from. Fear is actually showing you the things that you need to go toward, right? And so in that realm, even in this conversation of like, you know, polyamory and stuff, is that like, you know, Justine and I didn't choose when we met and when we became and how we became friends and the timing on it and stuff. And so often those comfort zone fears and stuff are what stop us from getting into a new relationship or letting it flourish. Because what usually happens, like I was single for a few years before we got together, and there was like 4 or 5 relationships that sort of started budding, and they were all random because again, you don't choose when these things happen. But you know, the barriers that we put up within ourselves that stop us from doing the things that we want to do, those are the defense walls to keep us in our comfort zone and keep us feeling safe and protected. And it's like when somebody where there's more alignment comes along, where other people were stopped, like all these other relationships that started, they were just stopped, and I stopped them for a couple reasons. But one was that like they were not able to break down my defense barriers, basically. Whereas like Justine, it's like all those same barriers were there, but she was like the right person to come through and go, it's safe to take that down. Or at least enough that I'm scared to let this person in this way that I have sort of successfully stopped others from coming in. And making you feel safe enough to take that step and take that risk.
And that feeling is amazing to have with someone.
Yeah, right. But it's like, you know, you don't choose when that happens. So again, it becomes this opportunity for you to recognize and notice like what's going on and then make a choice accordingly. Right. And so it was literally like, I didn't feel like I was like in the closet or anything like that in my life. Like I've always been attracted to women. I've only ever had sexual experiences with women. I never felt attracted to men. I've had lots of close relationships with guys, some of which are like, some of my guy friends are attractive, but I was never attracted to them. And so this really started opening up for me in like a kind of like a leadership training, this one like a fear exercise actually, that just sort of shattered this conversation open within myself of these two very different parts of myself. And you could say it's the straight self and the gay self, basically. And it's like my straight self was so dominant for all of my life that I didn't even feel there was like a gay self being repressed or anything like that. And then when the conversation really opened up and enough that something changed, something switched, that I went, okay, it's now in my awareness enough that I can't ignore it. To ignore it is to do so consciously now, which I can't do. So I have to go into this. I have to explore this, no matter what it sort of means and all the fears that I have associated with it. And so I started exploring this. I know I'm looking at the clock, so I'll wrap this up, but we'll have to have a part 2 for sure.
I would love, because I want to hear more in depth in this for sure. Yes. I only have a few minutes left because I have a meeting But I want to hear more and more and more about this because it's so. I'm pansexual myself, like bisexual, pansexual. You know what I mean?
Yeah, similar.
Same but different.
And it's just, like what we label everything. It's like maybe that's actually what I am. It's like the person.
Well, I started as being bisexual, right? But I totally get that. And hearing people's experiences, it's so incredible to see how that unravels, because sometimes we don't even, things don't come to light until we're like, wait a second. Seeing things like between the lines, you're like, this is like more,
well, that's why I'm so like appreciative too, that like you obviously are a very open person to bring up polyamory and like non-monogamy and stuff. And it's also just like, even if like it's, I even still have a question for myself. It's like, is this something I actually want to put into practice in real life? Or is it just something that I find interesting and want to learn more about and talk about, and, finding where the barriers are, where the boundaries are and stuff. But yeah, it's like, we don't choose how these things unfold. And it was like, when this opened up for me a few years ago, was just happened to be right at the same time that Justine and I's relationship started. Like our friendship really started, and then that turned into a relationship. And the conversation has kind of gone on that like, well, this my sexuality has really opened up in the last like few years. I'm 35. This was about around 32 that this happened. And I'm like, what a fucking change this is for me to try to integrate a massive like core identity change at this point in my life, that I felt like there was no real like conscious awareness or acknowledgement of. Like, I didn't feel like it was something that I was like repressing or anything. And then hindsight's 2020, of course, that it's like, I mean, a lot of stuff makes a lot more sense. And with this being the lens to look back with 2020 hindsight. And so I think we'll kind of like pin it there. And we can actually even, when you get off, when you're done your meeting, you said like today's kind of like open, flowy.
I'm happy to jump back on.
We could jump back on after, if that makes sense. And I honestly would be down.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's do that then. So we can pin it for now, but I guess I'll to sort of like stitch it up a little for now, and for Jordan as well, is just that like, he's like, so how does this work? Well, it's like, well, we find ourselves in a position, in a relationship, in a situation with one another that in many respects we didn't choose, and we didn't know how it was going to happen, and we just have to sort of like go with the flow and try to figure it out as we go, like with so many things in life, right? And so now we're exploring ethical non-monogamy together, and at least like talking about it. And it's so unfortunate that so many people don't have the space or the ability, and so much of it is to do with our culture, to even talk about stuff like this.
For sure. To even just bring it up, and for them to think about it, they're like, wait, what? That doesn't make sense. They don't get the lifestyle. It's a closed-mindedness, but also has a lot to do with the upbringing and them not understanding. It's new, it's foreign. They're like, what is this?
Well, it's like we literally never even got sort of like an option other than like, monogamy is the only right thing to do, the only good way and ethical way to live your life. Otherwise, you're a bad person, essentially, right? But let's stitch it there, because I would really love to hear more of your thoughts on this area.
I'd love to share some experience too,
and some of your experiences. Yeah, amazing. Cool. Well, I'm super excited to continue the conversation, and I'm so glad to have you on. And
it's an honor. It's a true honor, Dan. Really, thank you.
And just to be able to connect, and it's like, this is one of those moments where it's just like, when you meet someone that you connect with and you resonate with, and you have a synchronistic abundance with it's just like, the blossoming of like a new friendship is one of the most beautiful things in life. So I just want to let you know that like, that's like what I'm feeling right now. So super.
The feeling's mutual, man. It's really magical. So thank you for saying that.
Awesome.
I really appreciate it.
I will let you go, and we'll pick up later. Okay. Peace.
All right. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Well, Dan, to begin with that.
Wait. I actually, this is a perfect moment to stop you just one sec, because my computer literally just made the I'm done sound. It was like, Pew! I'm like, wait.
No worries, do what you gotta do. Perfect timing, eh?
My manifestation powers aren't strong enough.
Yeah, that's bullshit, man. No, it's fucking, that's bullshit. Like, seriously. Just don't go in the Grand River, you'll get herpesiphylitis.
Best advice.
Just a boatload of penises, you know what I mean? There's just lots of dick everywhere, so.